Well, hello, dear friends. I am so excited. I have an unexpected day off from work today, and I knew Daphne's diary was coming out, so I quickly headed off to W.H. Smith and grabbed a copy. And oh my word, what a beautiful, beautiful issue this is. And it has a theme in it, obviously to do with Easter because it's that time of the year coming up, but also quite a lot to do with spring and growing things. And that's so close to my heart because at the beginning of the year I started I suppose a journal or slash diary. Because I work in a horticultural field, I thought it'd be quite nice to record some of the things that we do there. So the other day I had the joy of being able to pick one of these little violas and press it. I can't say that it did a really brilliant job, but it was one of the first ones out, and I was so excited because I just love them. My gran used to always call them little smiley faces. And we have been at work busy planting loads and loads of different kinds of seeds. For those of you with small gardens, don't be put off. Poundland in the UK has these packs with multicolours, multi-packs with different kinds of almost exotic veggies and things, but they're really nice to grow small quantities if you just have a small space. And this is the beginning of my diary that I'm busy doing. We did one the other day just about preparing your tools in January and the beginning of February when the weather's cold, getting your beds ready. And I will link the link. I'll put the link for that in the description so that you can have a look at that and follow me, because it will be something that's coming on. Cover still to be done. I would like to find a really beautiful picture of a robin to put on there, so that's on its way. But let's focus now on Daphne's diary, because this is really just a lovely one. So it's got all the joys of spring in it, all the lovely things to do with Easter, and lovely, lovely colours. I know I had a comment on my channel about the last issue being quite pale and sort of soft colours, and it was a little bit unexpected because we're not used to that, but sometimes it's good. For those of you that buy Daphne's diary on a regular basis, look out for familiar themes, because you can build up quite a nice stash of ephemera from that. Things like paintbrushes and things coming up, flowers. Look at these lovely, lovely illustrations of roses and tea sets and flowers that you could use. I like to keep these kind of numbers. They just add to the collection that you can build up, especially if you're new to junk journaling and you don't have a lot of money to be able to spend buying ready-made ephemera and numbers. Collect these little things. Just use some of these different colored backgrounds to mat them, and you'll have something that you can use really nicely. Loads of lovely tiny little butterflies, and obviously all the lovely fruits. Looking out for postage stamps, which we often use in our journals. And this is rather lovely. It's just a little shield with a crown on it, something a bit different. Things to colour in, but utensils, if you're a cook, then those would make a lovely addition to any recipe book. And beautiful ideas of things to do for Easter for yourself and for your children or grandchildren. Love that. A nice fun way to encourage kids to be able to eat things that they wouldn't normally try. A few little farm animals. I walk past animals every day because I do work on a farm, and we've got 2 sows who've just recently had pigs, and I can't believe that these tiny little things, which just a few weeks ago were about this big, are now enormous. I mean, they don't even fit on camera. Yeah, so it's really, look at this lovely little nest here. That's lovely. Yeah, we've got goats and we've got alpacas and sheep, quite a lot of things, all rare breed animals actually. Some lovely images for colouring, especially if you're going to do things like a travel journal maybe. That would be a nice way to build up a stash of ephemera there. Yeah, plenty on that page. And look at these lovely little things. So this, when it says 3D, I imagine that they're going to encourage you to make that into a 3D picture, because there are a whole lot of little cutouts. So let me explain to you what that is. We in South Africa knew that as 3D decoupage. So you would start off by having a base picture like that, or maybe one of these, and then you would cut out all these little components and you would seal them with a nice glaze. I wonder if I can find my royal coat here quickly. Yeah, so you want quite a nice glaze, something like a royal coat, which is a dimensional glaze. Or if you haven't got that, then you could use one of your decoupage varnishes just to seal it, which makes the card a little bit more rigid, but it also allows you to shape it. So on the bloomers and things, you'd be able to use a modeling tool. Perhaps you might just even have a pencil. So if you had a pencil, then you could just wrap it around that just to shape the trousers a little bit. You could find any of your modeling tools that you might like. You might find something, let's just see, I'm stretching around here. Okay, so this is a shuntang that you use for batik wax, but if you wanted a nice round shape, you could just model your paper around that to give it more dimension. And then you would take these little pieces that you've cut out and superimpose them over the images that are actually there, which means that the little rabbit is going to look as though it's actually got clothes on the outside of it. It's really clever, and it's a nice way to be able to do that if you've got multiple copies of the same image. So that's what they mean by 3D decoupage. And if you aren't going to use those as a 3D decoupage card, you could use that as a postcard. So you've got a dual function there that you could actually use things for. Nice scrapbook paper that you could use for cards as well. It reminds me of handmade paper that I used to buy in from Thailand that's got these lovely flowers in them. Quite interesting here to see the different eggs in their different stages of boiling, because I think wherever you are, eggs always boil at different times, whether you're at sea level or whether you're higher up. And yeah, it's quite interesting to get the egg just the way you like it. It's a bit like a cup of tea, isn't it? Or a piece of toast. Much debate to be had there. Lovely little images, nice little houses here with Daphne's diary book on, little bird houses here which you could fussy cut out. I'm actually dying to make a series of little cardboard houses. I don't know what I'll do with them, but just really nice. If you like a sort of more vintagey look at that lovely image that you could actually use in a journal. And masks. I used to work in the theatre at one stage of my life, and made costumes and things and masks and headgear and really fancy costumes. One of the big shows we did was Amadeus, and we used to get these meters and meters and meters and meters, in those days yards of fabric, and we used to just put doilies on them and spray them with gold paint to make them look as if they were heavy brocade. But it was lovely making those costumes. A lot of hard work, but really nice. Some fun ideas to do just with a simple egg for Easter, and I think it's quite nice to take things down a notch and show kids that they can actually really have fun with what they're doing. Another thing that you can do with your eggs, because I mean I did a lot with eggs back home, is if you make a hard-boiled egg and then you just kind of roll it in your hands on a hard surface, you'll crackle the shell so that it's got like little vein marks. And then if you dip that in a diluted, well, not too diluted, but food coloring with a bit of water and roll it around, those little veins allow the dye to penetrate, and then when you peel the shell off, you've actually got this kind of marbled look on the egg, which is really rather fun. Just be careful about felt markers. Don't use Sharpies on there because that's got alcohol and all kinds of chemicals in. So just remember, if you're going to eat the egg, just to be careful that you use a food safe color. I did loads of decoupage on eggs as well, which was great. I used to sell those in Namibia. Just simply because there was a large German population there and they just loved the eggs. So if you're a gardener, isn't this just a feast? And if you like growing fruit and vegetables and stuff, this is just really fantastic. Lovely images you can use for your ephemera. Lovely apples. We've got apple trees, multiples in our field where we work, and oh my word, when they're all in fruit, it's so hard to pick them. We don't use any chemicals whatsoever. But it's just a massive undertaking to just keep picking and picking and picking and picking. And when I first started working there, my trainees didn't really taste anything that they grew. And I started to change that. I said, come on, if you're picking the apples, eat one. Or if you're picking beans, eat one. They said, oh, we've never eaten raw beans. And I said, well, try it. And they very tentatively nibbled on one, and they said, oh, it's actually quite good. So it's been lovely just to show them that straight off the plant is really good. Lovely flower ephemera as well, and you've got your little butterflies again repeating through and through. That also on its own could be the one side of a lovely journal card. I'm just feeling so inspired by this magazine, really. It's just gorgeous. Right, spot the difference. Here's some few nice little stickers that you could quite easily just pop onto a homemade preserve, or you could just put it on as a gift tag. I like to keep all my stickers in one place, so I've got a nice stash when I need it. Clever lady using pods, and those are pine cones, sorry, and these are pods from a particular poppy, and the little seeds come out of those holes there. So you could collect these kind of things and make them up into some nice little characters. And if you're interested in having a look, there's a YouTube channel called Becorn, Becorn, and this man is just so brilliant. He used to be a Lego designer, and he gave it up, and he starts using things like acorns to build characters and puts them in different positions because he wants to photograph the reaction of the characters that he makes with birds. And so he'll build this whole little scene with like a little bird house and a little pond and the little beacorn character with maybe a fishing rod with a little blueberry at the end. And then he'll sit for hours and patiently photograph the interaction between the birds and this little beacorn. He has got some of the most beautiful things to look at and wonderful photographs. So I do really think that it's a worthwhile site having a look at. Lovely little images for rooster. Oh, I remember a long time ago roosters were all the rage. It seems to be that we have things like angels come in and then they go out, and then we had the sunflowers and then roosters. But you've got quite a lot of nice things that you can use here. So you've got a whole collection of different stamps, which are brilliant. You've got a whole collection here of different logos that you can use. And I quite often cut out of these little tags and just stick them onto a piece of card, maybe do put an eyelet in with some real string, and then I put maybe an image over the back, so that gives me a nice little tag of different shapes. Here are just details about how you can subscribe to Daphne's Diary, but these little booklets make for wonderful stamps if you wanted to use them. A larger stamp, but nevertheless they could be for other ephemera as well. Tutus, yeah, when I was making costumes, made plenty of those. We used to sit with miles and miles of tulle and just overlock the edges so that they stood out. And it was always interesting when we were working on the shows, because I was a wardrobe mistress, so we actually had to stand in the wings just looking for anything that came amiss. So we had to make sure that all the hooks at the backs were done, that there weren't any threads or that, because if a man came to lift a woman and the hook had come undone on the back of their dress, he could get his fingers caught and that could be an accident. So it was really interesting to see all the shows repeatedly, and also just to be part of that process. And those were kind of the sketches that the designers would do before we actually made the costumes up. Yeah, weren't well paid times, but they were fun. And I certainly travelled quite a bit with the shows. Here's some nice travel history. Again, some nice tags. I've got nice little images on them as well. And there's normally an insert like this in Daphne's Diary that comes with this kind of, I don't know, it's like a silicone kind of tape on. Try and get that off as soon as possible. It just rubs off. In fact, it's probably not silicone, it's probably more like latex. And then you've got something that doesn't have a mark on it that comes through to the front of it. I love the little egg cups that you can colour in yourself. I think that's rather a fun activity. And here's a nice spread of twins, but I quite like that little image, and I like those that I would be able to use. And then obviously you've got words that you could cut out as well. So I'm going to just put this aside because it's actually quite thick. Right, travels, all different places. Again, you've got logos that you could use. Nice images of the vines. Difficult with Daphne's Diary to get you completely in camera because it's quite a tall magazine. That's rather a nice illustration of a glass of wine. More Easter things, making breads. Fabergé eggs, just beautiful. So much patience for these people that have made these over the centuries. Really just works of art, but mostly larger eggs like goose eggs, or in South Africa they did things like that with ostrich eggs. This is a type of macrame, but just using a very basic knot to create that design. And I didn't know much about the Butchart Gardens, but it was a garden that was formed in an old quarry, and this lady just brought in truckloads and, well, horse and cart loads of soil to build this garden, and it really looks an amazing place. So worthwhile paying a visit if you're in that part of the country. Where does it say it is? It doesn't actually say. say where it is, but I suppose we could Google it. Love the images of the poppies, of the daffodils, the roses, the butterflies, gardening ephemera there and there. Text is always useful as a background to something. Lovely ideas to recycle a cardboard egg box, to do fun activities with small children, or just for growing little succulent things. Some of you may know this, but maybe not everybody, that if you have an EPHEMERA like that, which is one of the succulent plants, if you just pull one of those petals off and you pop it in some soil, you'll grow another little plant in no time at all. And that's quite a nice way to multiply them. I had a friend in South Africa who had a border around her garden just of EPHEMERA and then all the other plants behind, and it really made a lovely statement piece. This is lovely. Nice way to make your own little egg cups, and you've got these gorgeous patterns here that you would be able to use maybe as a belly band or as a tag of some sort. So don't throw the bits and bobs away. There seems to be, in the last few issues, some of these colouring in things. We've had a row of houses with giraffes and those kind of things. Here's one with a little pig. And again, you've got lots of ephemera that you could use there. And lovely soft muted colours. And this woman, Lena, who lives in Oslo, this is just her home, which is a very sort of vintage vibe. Really lovely colourings, but she is a decorator, so she's got the talent. But lots that you could use here. And then you have these recipe cards which just fold out. You'll see that there's a perforated edge there. They're quite nice as strips that you could use. And then they've got a little an Easter calendar. This looks like a little box that you could pop out, and then you could stick these onto the back of each area. So that's quite a nice activity. You would just have to glue them back to back. But having said that, you could make those into little tags, and these pop out, so that could be a longer tag that you could back that to that, and you'd have a whole series, not just a box. Mindfulness colouring, some nice recipes here again. I'm going to, in my garden journal, be going through some of the plants that we regard as weeds, like nettles, and showing you some of the things that you can actually make with them. This woman's done something which is amazing, but honestly, I don't know if I could actually do it. She's taken old household items, like a mixing machine and pram and that, and she embroiders a cover to go over all of them. I mean, that is a huge, huge amount of work and patience. Excuse me, I'm not sure if she sells them, but yeah, that's quite a lot of work. Advice on tomatoes, how to grow them, which one they are, and it's always fun trying a new tomato variety. We've just planted these tiger tomatoes. I've never tasted one, so I'm dying to actually try them and see. And obviously loads to follow there. This is working with air drying clay to make a vase. Not a particularly pretty vase, but I mean, it gives you an idea. And I don't know how good it would be with water on the inside. I think it might go a little bit funny unless you've put a really strong varnish on the inside so that the water doesn't penetrate the clay, because generally with a terracotta pot the water soaks into the pot, and then if you've painted on the outside it tends to push the paint off. Just my experience, but I could be wrong. This caught my eye here, this lovely lattice work here, because I thought that would make something nice as a decorative finish on a piece of ephemera. Maybe just add onto a page, or maybe making tabs. Lovely pieces of music paper, roses, watercolor backgrounds, and then these are rather fun, just to make a cut out bunny, and then you just fold it together. So you've got two of those that you can do. And then this, let me just remove this. So this is a big page, but this is exactly where I am at with my trainees at the moment. So this is, let me start at the top here. This is a sowing and harvest calendar, which shows you a whole variety of different vegetables and the months that you would sow them and you would harvest them. And then you've also got, sorry, let me just try and get this up here. You've also got the flowers of when you would sow them and harvest them, and that gives you your guide. And then it's got lovely illustrations of those around there. So we have planted snapdragons, Chinese asters. We are just starting to sow cosmos, Haven't done any of these others. Verbenas, no, we're not planting verbenas. We will be doing quite a lot of sunflowers because we've got a large polytunnel that faces a glamping field, which is part of our estate, and we normally plant a really, really splendid display of sunflowers there. Got to just sow them and cover them in a net pillowcase so the mice can't get them. What have we sown here? We have done cabbages, we've done radishes, we have sown some tomato seeds, we've done cress, we've done chilies, we've done some pepper, we've done a whole lot of herbs, we've done leeks, so a whole variety of different things. So this is probably going to find its way into my garden journal just because it's something appropriate, lovely things to colour that I could use in the garden journal as well. And then decoupaging on eggs, which is great. Painting on ceramics. So when I had my shop in South Africa, I had an art and craft shop, and one of the paints that I got was Pebeo porcelain paints, and they haven't paid me to tell you about this, but those are paints that you would paint onto a glazed pottery surface, which is the most efficient way of using the paints, and I'll explain that just now. Then you would leave them to dry for 24 hours so that all the moisture evaporates. Then you just bake them in your domestic oven, and they're actually really lovely, fun projects to do with kids, especially if they paint their own cups. And the reason why I say glazed plates are better to work on is because if you use an unglazed plate, which is very porous, you're going to use an enormous amount of paint, and they were quite expensive in South Africa. I don't know what they're priced like in the UK and other parts of the world. I haven't actually checked that out, but they were fun to do and they really worked well. Nice colouring in picture. And then here's just some lovely, lovely scenes that you could use in your journals if you wished. These are wraps to go around a box of eggs. So if you had done decoupage or painted eggs, which are the traditional hen's eggs, you could take a normal cardboard egg box and wrap them around, but you could also similarly use the papers, which are just lovely, joyful spring colours, aren't they? Really exciting. And then the last sort of page is some nice things of books. Quite often there are things to do with books, and that's quite a nice tag that says book tips. So if you are a reader or a writer, or you wanted to add something like that into your ephemera, you've got those that you can add to your stash. The next issue of Daphne's Diary will appear on the 9th of April, which is really brilliant. And have a look at the back page. Doesn't that remind you of yesteryear, the old-fashioned telephone where we used to dial the numbers? How far away from that are we? Just a whole different world. So if we have a look at the pages back to back or opened out, you will see that you could either use that as a small cover if you folded that in half, or you would carefully have to position how you're going to do this. Maybe make a slightly off center cover where you didn't fold it exactly in half, but maybe the back would be slightly longer than the front. But altogether a really, really lovely issue, and I'm excited to be able to use some of these in my journal and to be able to share this with you. So thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, give me a like. I'd love to hear your comments in the description box below about any journals that you're making, or even perhaps videos that you might like me to make in the future. And I look forward to seeing you and joining with you in another video soon. Bye for now.